Welcome to the Sci-Fi Guys. I'm your host, Dave, and always with me is John and Chad. Today, we're going to be talking about, actually, we're doing something a little different today. You know, most of our movies that we've done have been older movies. Well, this is the first one that we're doing. Actually, it's 2024, and this movie was released in 2024. So we're doing Transformers 1, supposedly the prequel of the entire universe, but there are some questions.
At least we're all on equal footing having watched this one for once. We all had not seen it. That is new for us, I feel like. So
yeah, oh, definitely. It was definitely new because none of us had seen it before. Let me get our questions ready here. Sorry, everyone. I had it on. There it is. All right. Let me go with the first one. All right. Yeah.
Much better.
Okay, so we got all kinds of questions here. We're all, excuse me, we were all wasn't sure, really what was going on in the movie for some of this. If you're comparing it to either the cartoon or you're comparing it to the show, we have a special guest on. And okay, first off, Starscream. This movie really did put some things in place, like how they made him have the higher screeching voice because Megatron kind of squeezed his windpipe, and now he had the higher pitched voice. But why did he give up so easily? He was in charge of the guard, and why did he give up so easily and just be like, okay, let's follow Megatron? What do y'all think?
I mean, psychologically, I think there's a lot there if we base it off human emotion, because I don't think he had ever really been challenged before in that position, because if he had, I think the same thing might have happened. But all those below him just kind of blindly followed. And all of a sudden he has a challenger, and a good challenger, who's pointing a big gun at his face. And I also think the fact that Big Gun got pulled out to begin with, I mean, he was terrified. And so having probably not been greatly challenged before, and also the fact that he had a massive, basically a WMD at this point, weapon of mass destruction pulled out on him. I mean, if I was in his position, I don't think I would have stayed leader either. All right, fine, you got it, it's yours. I mean, that's my take on it. At least he just hadn't been challenged, and he got it pulled up on him, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. What about you, Chad? You think anything different?
No, I think about the same. I think he never got challenged in his whole. If he never got challenged, but the thing is that to me is like he saw that Megatron or D12 was more charismatic, hardy. He's ready to go, and he was always trying to take charge before he even took charge. We gotta go do this now.
Yeah,
and it was more. He was more hiding, so cowardly. What they said.
Yeah, that I get that, because they were if they were the elite guard, they really shouldn't have been hiding, but they were, and they like Chad said, it could have been a leadership thing, where because Starscream was not the in your face type leader, maybe that had something to do with why they were hiding. Although I thought it was pretty obvious where they were hiding. If any of their what were those? The Quints? Wasn't that the
Quintessons?
Okay, how come they haven't found them? I mean, it was like right out there and open.
They're clearly not the best hunters.
No, not at all.
Although, I mean, they have plenty of tech and power. I mean, they took over half of Cybertron, or at least the surface, but obviously not great at hunting. But if you have that much power, you don't really care to hunt that much anyway, because you can wipe out just about anything. So they didn't have to be great per se.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around those guys being the big baddies, I mean, we didn't see enough of them, I guess. That was just kind of one of those things that they were saying, okay, go to the next movie. We're going to go ahead and have this war,
Well, Well, I think part of it too, I mean, there's an element of just long-standing fear. I mean, they took down the primes, and as a whole civilization, like the fact that your primes are gone, would kind of affect how you feel towards them anyway. So I think there's just also a fear factor there, that kind of let them stay in power even if they weren't the best.
Okay, I can see that. All right, so let me go to another question here before then we'll have Chad ask a couple. He's got a couple. Okay, after the race, Sentinel said, "Hey, okay, I'm going to reward you guys. You know, now all the workers are working more. You know, we want you to go around and talk to them, kind of boost them up. But then, you know, hey, come to my personal quarters. We'll hook you up." And then they got dumped into the waste management. You know, was that the plan to dump them in the first place, or was that just something that his henchman did because he lost?
I think that was the plan, and I'll get all low because I think you can't have a mine worker showing up, the one that has cogs to show, hey, to start hope.
Mhm.
Hello.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I go ahead, John.
I can see it being either way. There was definitely a moment where I was like, maybe it is what he's going for, and he is going to reward them. But I can definitely see him even working with that mine, the leader of the mine or whatever, and being like, yeah, just go ahead, take him down. And then maybe that was just the plan all along. It definitely feels more like the power play, especially seeing how the film went. It seems more of like what he would have done, knowing the later parts of the film.
Yeah, see, I didn't see it that way. I originally thought he was going to go ahead and support them because he needed more energon. And now you're getting workers to work more and work better. If these guys just walk around and talk to him, they're going to work more and he's going to get more. So, you know, I really think it was just the other guy, I can't remember, Darkwing Duck or whatever he
Darkwing.
was.
Yeah, it was dark something. That's
Dark
I just
something.
can't remember the last part.
Yeah, I really think it was just him, you know, being anal. You know, I mean, you know, and just being mad.
Well, you
I
got.
mean, I can definitely see it being that.
It could be that, but the thing is, why? I mean, they were already complaining. The mine workers already complaining about being in the mines. Optimus was always looking for the trying to find the way to find the what's it called?
The thing of leadership, yeah.
The thing of leadership. So he was already looking.
Matrix.
The Matrix. He was trying to already look for it, trying to find out where it's at, but if you look at it was more of a opportune moment that they did get put down way down there. They wouldn't find where the primes were buried. Wouldn't find the coordinates.
It's true.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think about it that way. Chad, go ahead and go with one of your questions.
Let's see here. So why did Sentinel leave the primes? Or you want to go there, or you want to go the other one?
No, go there. That's fine.
So why did Sentinel leave all the primes where they were betrayed at? Why didn't he just try to bury them or take the cogs and get rid of the evidence?
I would have gotten rid of the evidence. I mean, I'm sorry. I guess he was cocky.
That's true.
You know, he was cocky. He knew that no one was going up to the planet side. No one was going up there except for him and his little band of merry men and women, you know.
Yeah.
So I really think that he's like, why am I going to worry about these guys? They're nothing, you know. No one's going to come up here. You know, I think he got overconfident in himself and in his people that, hey, this is what we're going to do. And it just didn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see. I kind of see leaving them because it kind of corroborates the story he's telling others and that the primes are defeated. I kind of see him leaving it for that reason, especially because no one's really supposed to end up on the surface. But I think for sure, bare minimum, I'm making sure at least all the life sparks are gone, because I mean that is like A1 mistake with one of them still technically being quote unquote alive. I mean, yeah, kind of down and out for the count, needing some energon, but at the same time, like, now you got to make sure they're taken care of completely. And I
Yeah.
think that was a big mistake. So, I mean, if you're going to leave one halfway alive, then yeah, definitely get rid of the evidence. But I get leaving them there just in case anybody finds them, because it does kind of corroborate the whole, like, oh, yeah, they were attacked and they died.
Yeah. All right, Chad, go with your next one, because I think all the rest of them I've got are all dealing with Megatron, and I think your question is going to kind of lead into those other two.
Yeah. So in the beginning of the movie, you see D12, Megatron, and Optimus very acting like, or they acting like more like best friends or more siblings. What, like button heads at siblings.
I mean, it is tricky.
Yeah.
I think I see it as great friends from a coworker relationship. Like, because there's a difference in great friends in general, and then there's like, oh, we became friends at work, and now we have each other's back for that, and we are still strong friends because of that. But it definitely seems more of the friend side than the sibling side. It's just a little different because it happened because of their work, if that makes sense. I think it's a different dynamic than just straight up best friends. Like since they've grown up together and things like that, it's a whole different dynamic. But I still think it's more the great friends dynamic.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm kind of with you, John, to a point. I mean, I'm an only child, so I can't say, the way I treated my siblings or my siblings treated me, because I didn't have any. But I have 3 children, and I've seen the way they treat each other, and I can see aspects of both. I can see aspects of siblings, especially the when one really ticks the other one off. I really can see that in the two of them, and at the same time, I still see, like John said, good friends, but not ones that grew up together. That they became friends later in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not that deep, long-seated trust.
Right.
I think it's the middle of the road. Like you there's a sibling part of it that they bicker and they fight. They already have each other's back, but they also the best friend that you will call it when you need something. You got a flat tire, you need help. There's somebody you need help. He was always there. So that's
I kind of wish I had that. You've got a friend in me.
friend in me.
Nope, sorry, I don't.
Nope.
Okay. I got a couple questions about.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
Yeah, about him, Megatron. All right. Let's dive in. This may go into plot holes. I don't know. Okay. Why was Megatron fighting Optimus Prime at the end? Optimus has the matrix of leadership, right? And he was christened the leadership of Matrix from Megatron's hero. Crud, what was his name?
Megatronus.
Megatronus, right? Thank you. Yeah, Megatronus was one of the primes who christened Optimus to take up that mantle. So why was Megatron so angry at Optimus because of that?
Because I think it's more of a like the how you say it, like he was jealous. They're like, they gifted you the matrix of leadership. He thought he should have deserved that because you saw it. He was already, once he got the cogs, his mindset was already trained going the other way. Like, I can't believe I was Sentinel betrayed it. Did that to the Prime. I want to go after him, man. That's all it was. Optimus wants to do the same, but he didn't want to do what D12, now Megatron, wanted to. And I think that's why he went after. He's like, I got to get the Matrix of Power away from Megatron and get it for myself. He had to try. You can't fault him for it.
So you mean Megatron was wanting it for himself, not
Yeah.
Orion Pax? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I clarify. John, what'd you have?
I think it comes down to I think the motivations of both Orion and D, who would become Megatron. Megatron, both are people who have lived their whole lives not really tasting power, in regards to being in the mine, shoved down. However, Orion is constantly leading at least D into these adventures, these mishaps, and again that idea of hope that he constantly has. Whereas even in those moments, Megatron, formerly D, is constantly just cowering, not really wanting to do it. And then all of a sudden he gets that cog and he just feels power. And so it's someone who has never tasted power his whole life, suddenly getting power. And I think a lot of that just brought up a lot of just instant arrogance, cockiness. Like he thinks he can take on the whole world. It doesn't matter that Orion has the leadership matrix, because he's always used to being under Orion at that point, that it's just like, well, I have power now, so I can even take on you regardless of the matrix. I think there's just part of that. His friendship kind of was his downfall, and that, oh, I've never had power before, I suddenly have it, I can even take on you, I don't care what's happened on your end. And I think that's part of the reason he doesn't really think like, oh, well, Megatronus would have had, he's past that at that point, like because of the whole power situation. He just was instantly power hungry, and he took full advantage of that where he could and tried to go ahead and take on Orion and call it a day.
And then also, if I remember right, he took out the cog that was Megatronus's cog and put it in himself. So that gave him even that much more power of equivalent to a prime, maybe not being a prime, but at least equivalent to one.
Yeah. And now I will go ahead, Chad.
So you remember the prime that was still neither the spark, neither the power, took out the prime cogs that was there and gave it to the three there. They already had prime cogs. It was just not Megatronus, not the one that made them bigger instead of what he wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now if we want to go super deep, I think there may even be a part of D that's kind of still inside. You know what I mean? And it may be that one part is the part that's connected to Megatronus. And so secretly, subconsciously, he gave his blessing to Orion because they were such good friends for a long time. But on the outside, he's still power hungry and consciously seeking that. I think you could go into a cool power struggle there if you want to dive deep. I don't think the movie did that at all, but I think it'd be a cool.
So you think Megatronus was kind of the precursor, or basically was the same as Megatron, or not?
No. I think D was fully power hungry. I think subconsciously that friendship he had developed along the way could have subconsciously reached out through, Prime Pass and be like, Megatronus, give him the blessing anyway, even though consciously on the front side he's still power hungry and going after Orion. Again, the movie doesn't lean itself towards that at all. I just think it'd be a cool, fun little theory to run with.
Maybe I can do it in your corrections. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think this is the last question I've got. Yeah. Okay. I don't get why Megatron said he felt deceived. He said this multiple times. He said it when first he found out that Sentinel deceived them. And then even when he was talking to everyone at the end after he took out Sentinel, saying, hey, I don't want you to be deceived. Follow me. But then he turns around and names his merry men Decepticons. Can you guys explain that to me? Did I miss something in the movie, or what?
I don't think you miss anything. I think it's just, to me, I think it's more of a play on words. He didn't want to deceive them, so why not call them, hey, we're the Decepticons that we're going to. To me, that was That's what I think it is. It's more play on words. He didn't like to be seen, so let's call ourselves Decepticons.
I can see that.
Or I mean, I completely agree on that, Frank. 'Cause I think that's kind of really what it just comes down to is writers giving it a clever turn of phrase. But I also think maybe it's just he has been deceived so much throughout the film and his life that at this point he's like, well, instead of being deceived, I can just be the great deceiver. Well, let's just be the Decepticons. Let's call it a day. If I'm so tired of being deceived by others, I will just be the one in power and control and deceiving others. So let's rise, Decepticons. Call it a day.
I can go with both of those. I like that. Okay, let's go to our next segment. All right, our next segment is plot holes, where we love to talk about plot holes. Yeah, Transformers 1. Again, we're talking about that movie today. All right, did you guys see anything blatant in your face? Jump at it.
I have a couple. I think one of my big ones is the big race. Just the fact that they had access to behind the scenes, that there's no security even stopping them the moment they fall on the track, that there's no security along the way trying to stop them. Honestly, they didn't really face a whole lot of adversity even in the race. They shouldn't have had a shot. Generally, the way they're acting, like these cogs make a difference. I think the race as a whole is a gaping plot hole. I get kind of the point. It kind of brought them to Sentinel's attention and all of that story wise, but it just makes no sense how they were able to even fall into it and then also keep up at all. So that's one of mine. The other is Sentinel being so helpless on the surface with the quintessent whatever those
Quints.
guys.
Let's just call them Quints.
Yeah, with the Quints. Like he goes from being like, oh, I had this great plan. I'm doing everything in Cybertron and the town, and I'm leading everything. I've done this great deception. I've handled everything. And the moment he's before them, it's like, oh, he just cowers in fear because he doesn't have enough energon and he's worried what they're gonna do. And I kind of get it's a classic turn on like, oh, the bully is being bullied. And I think they're trying to hit that nail on the head a little bit, but it just really made him look a little too weak in the long run to me. And that's another kind of gaping one in my mind. It's just because you set him up to be so strong, and all of a sudden, in like 2 seconds, he's made out to be so weak.
Yeah.
Okay. Chad, how about you?
Those are my two.
Well, he got to hit the race. Like, how in the world are they going to get behind the scenes? Like, I know he probably planned it out. Like, you saw him break into the archives, but I mean, like,
Well, how are they going to get their names on the board? You know,
Yeah.
you've got to have an entry form or something, you know.
Well,
some
you
way
got to
to-
think they just went, they dropped in the race. Oh, there's miners in the race. And it just called the miners. It wasn't Optimus and Optronus and D12. It was the miners. They grouped them together. And another one is like where he was sitting there, where Sentinel was bowing down. Like to me is they found in the story that Sentinel was a Benedict Arnold. I'm gonna call it like it is. He went to the other side, thought he was gonna get a better deal. Which he heard a story that, oh, the Primes were just whiny babies. I didn't like to work under them, so he turncoat and became a coward.
Yeah. Well, the biggest one for me was along Sentinel's line. All right. So he took out the Primes with the help of the Quints. Well, then when he goes to visit the Quints, he's got an army with him, basically. All that army is gonna know what the Quints are still alive, that he is bowing down to them. I mean, you can't keep a secret. If one person knows the secret and they're the only one that knows, they can keep a secret. If you've got that many people that know, it's going to come out somehow, unless they were just strictly non-alive robots, I guess you could say, you know, that they were just droids. but
Mm-mm.
then you've got Arachnid or whatever the heck her name
Yeah.
was. You know, was she part of them, the Quints, or not? I mean, you know, just there was too many questions on that that to me were very, very. I'm like, there's no way you would be able to get away with it for this long. You know, um,
Promised them
yeah,
something
you know,
in
promising
return.
them what, Energon? You know, I just I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, let's go to our next. Fixing or improving. How would we fix or improve this movie?
Mhm.
Start with you, Chad. How about you,
You said me or John?
Chad?
I don't know. I don't want to take yours because you're about the same page on something.
No, go ahead.
But well, I mean, we all seen the original movies. Like I remember watching the original cartoons, and even watching when the Transformers came out. Bumblebee he was never talkative. Yeah, in the first three movies, he had no bots, but he wasn't talkative. It was more flashy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
One
make
thing I did
him
notice about this movie is they tried to do a fine line between the movies and the cartoon, and some things worked and some things didn't.
that didn't work. I would have kept because nobody's gonna be to me is I'm looking at it like yeah I like the movie I like this movie but I wish they kept Bumblebee non-talkative like mm, just very man of few words.
Okay. All right, John. How about you?
I think for me to fix or improve this, I would have to change some of the foundational setup. And so to ultimately set up the Megatron turn and D16 turning into him, I think I would have had it been more of a. We have a lot of this. It's a huge trope, but almost the military training thing. Like, oh, we're gonna go fight the Quints. Those two being best buddies, and like instead of them being no cogs and the lowest society is miners, have that be like the base form of training camp. After you graduate training camp, you get your cogs. Maybe one of them gets them, one of them doesn't, and then has to go back through some kind of challenge. But I think set them up for war against the Quints. And even still have Sentinel kind of having been a Benedict Arnold in the past, but putting on this face of leading the fight, but ultimately doing something behind the scenes to like change the fight in favor of the Quint since he's ultimately for them. But have it kind of set up be a war, have them as a group figure out what's happening from the leadership side, and then you can kind of have that battle of them figuring out what Sentinel's doing and go against him. But I think I almost would have preferred to see them growing up on a training side and then having some sort of betrayal as the movie went on, as opposed to kind of what we got. I think it would have flowed a little more. However, I do still like the societal thing they're going for there with the almost classism of miners and then the ones with cogs, and then you have this background scene. I did like it, but I could also see more of setting up the betrayal that they're ultimately trying to do between Megatron and Optimus and kind of setting up that origin story. I think they could have done that a little better had they kind of had a little different setting. So if I were to fix anything, I may have just changed the premise of the film. Even though I did still enjoy what we got, I think that would be the one major fix I would try to shoot for.
Well, I think for me, the biggest thing is okay. What is it a prequel for? Is it a prequel for the movies? Is it a prequel for the cartoon? What is it? I know, doing some research, they said it was basically it's a reboot. It's a starting of its own universe. It's brand new. And then other
Yeah.
people have said, "Oh, it's a prequel to all of them." And I'm like, "Well, you can't. No, you can't
No.
have that." So first of all, pick a lane. Is it going to be a prequel? Is it going to be a brand new show? Then call it a brand new show, and run with it. So if you're going to keep it as a brand new show, Do you know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of Anakin Skywalker when he turned to the dark side.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough beef there. There wasn't enough meat there for me to really get behind it to understand why he turned. The same thing with this movie. There wasn't enough for me. Oh, you get your cog and then you found out you're deceived and then you're going to, oh, now I'm going to be Megatron and be bad. No, it didn't. So to fix it, pick a lane. And then if you're going to start over, fine, but make us really like Megatron. Don't make them best friends. Make them be. They need to be enemies from day one. They need to be competing for the same thing, you know. And then Megatron gets really mad when Optimus ends up with the leadership matrix.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
to me that would make more and more sense than what we got.
and another thing is the moment you saw Megatron or D12 turn, he had yellow eyes, but when he was trying to save Orion or Optimus Prime before he was saving Sentinel because there's been too much death. Let's not do this. Trying to talk reason. But then Megatron's like, nope, I'm
then the
out
red
for blood.
eyes. Yeah.
Then it went. He was saving like enough of this, and once he made that decision enough, red eyes just went.
Yeah, give us. I mean, you did a decent.
More-
They did an okay job with a backstory, but give us something. I really think it would have been
Something
better
else, something more.
if they were kind of competing. They were
Yeah,
best
and
friends, but they were competing on everything. You know, oh, one person is doing this, and one person doing this, and don't even have Ezra in there. She didn't really.
No.
I mean,
And see,
again,
that's where I'm
if
taking
you're
the
going-
military angle.
yeah, but if you're also
I mean-
if you're going with the original, the G1 Transformers Generation 1, there was no Ezra. There was Bumblebee, and then I heard a lot of the names. Then Soundwave and and
Shockwave,
and then you've got Starscream. You've
Starscream.
obviously got Jazz and some of those other well named ones from the original series. So it's like you were kind of, like I said, they were skirting the line.
See, the thing is, you see in the movie, you hear Optimus Prime. Our planet was ravaged with civil war between the Decepticons and Autobots. He was a Prime then. He thought when he became a Prime. To me, is at the end of the movie, that's when they were, it's got a little bit of both. Why put a little bit of both? I would have went with the prequels to the cartoons and let that be it.
Well, Hasbro has said they washed their hands of all the movies. They were just like, whatever, Originally, they were in charge, because they wanted to make toys and money.
Yeah.
And I think they just got to the point where they're like, okay, it's ridiculous. You're doing too much, So they kind of just like, okay, we're done. Y'all do what you want to do. We're not gonna make toys on this line. So at least I read that online. I don't know how up true that is, but we'll see. All right, let's go to our next segment. Okay, this segment, we're going to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. John, let's start with you, sir.
Well, me and you talked about this slightly beforehand. And just ultimately, I think there are two different ways to rate this film. There's rating it as what it is, which is a kid's sci-fi film, Transformers, woohoo, with a lot of easy storylines to follow for kids, and still is a story. It's high entertainment value, a lot of silly, goofy moments that I think really lend itself to the crowd they're aiming for. And then there's the way we grade stuff. And so if I'm going to grade it the way we grade it, I think it's going to change my rating a little bit. So as a kid's film, full send 5. I think easy, would watch again, loved it, highly entertaining, love thinking back to my childhood, Transformers, all of those things. But if I want to rate it the way we rate it, with plot holes and just overall, just some of the storyline kind of being garbled or rushed in certain areas and not making sense in others. I mean, really, the way we rate it, I've got to put it at 3.5. If you average that out, that's a 4. But for our podcast officially, it's 3.5.
Okay, Chad, how about you?
I'm about the same storyline. I, for a kid, like I wouldn't mind. I would start my son off watching this. That way, he gets some kind of storyline before watching the cartoons. That way, he knows who they are. But to me, is the storyline for them is 5. But for me, it's I'm 3.5 and 4. I'm more of 3.5.
And they threw in a lot of
Fillers.
what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Some of the iconic lines that you hear when you're growing up, and they kind of made a joke out of it, like she's like,
Mhm.
you need to say it louder, like when he said, hey, roll out, and she's like,
Yeah.
you need to say it louder, and it's like, okay, and for stuff like that, that just kind of irked me, and again, I don't know which lane it's in. So
Yeah, that
many
makes a big
times watching
difference.
it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see this. Oh, I can see that. Oh, I can see. So to me, I'm the same. I'm going to give it a 3.5. It was enjoyable. I probably will watch it again. I mean, maybe the
Mhm.
next time I'll watch it and I might see something different,
It's true.
that I may like. I may like even more. So, yeah. All right. Okay, everyone, please contact us. The best way to do that is YouTube comments. We've had a few of those lately, and we appreciate that. Subscribe, like, all the good stuff that you do on YouTube. We're also on all the social media networks on Facebook, Instagram, and in X at TheseSciFiGuys. Or you can email us at TheseSciFiGuys@gmail.com. All right, this part of the show, normally we go ahead and tell you what we're going to do next week. Well,
Autobots, roll out.
we're actually not doing a pod next week. Yeah, because it's the beginning of December. We've got a ton of stuff going on with our different churches and stuff. So we're not going to be doing a pod next week. However, the week after that, we are not going to be reviewing a movie either. It's kind of at the end of the year. We're in December, so we're kind of wrapping things up. And we are going to have a crossover with those sci-fi guys again. I think we had one in January, and now we're going to have one in December this year. So they're really looking forward to it. We're going to do another trivia. We're going to do another draft, and just have a good time. So I hope you guys can come back and see that and enjoy it. And then after that, we'll just give you a little sneak peek. We're going to do our end of the year pod, where we're going to basically fix some things maybe that happened through this year that we kind of went back and thought about, and it's like, hey, we need to fix that I shouldn't have rated that this way, and then give you guys some of our best and worst movies, characters, villains, etc. So hopefully you guys will have a good time with it. We're just gonna see how it goes and all that. So anybody have anything else before we get out of here? Nope. They're shaking their heads no. So I know we're not on audio, but we're going to go with that. So anyway, until next time.
Crash and burn.